Hello, my name is Allison Carmen, and welcome to my podcast, 10 Minutes to Less Suffering. And the name of today's podcast is The Magic of Going Within. And the reason I bring this up today is that an old client called me who sold her business about 10 years ago. And this business was a real passion of hers. But her and her ex-business partner started to argue. They started to fight. My ex-client was very busy raising her children, and the arguing and the fighting between the business partners left them in a situation where somebody had to be bought out. And my client made the very painful, difficult decision to sell her business. And one of the reasons that she has such trouble letting go of what happened is because her ex-business partner sold the business for a lot of money. Now, most of us can understand why this would bother her, but he sold this business over 2 years ago. So what's going on now with my ex-client is that instead of processing the pain and getting to a place of acceptance, she's given most of her power to the story of what should have been, what didn't happen, regret, and the past has become center stage instead of the moment and the future. And as hard as it is for my old client, it's even more challenging for people who didn't have the choice. Sometimes people lose their jobs. Sometimes you're forced to sell a business. Sometimes someone leaves you. Sometimes a friendship ends and it wasn't your choice. You don't even have the element that you had the choice. But again, at some point, it leaves you in the same place. We could tell the story of the past. We could tell the story of what didn't happen. We could spend our time looking at the people who left us, looking at the businesses we no longer work for. We can compare ourselves even to people we don't even know. And all it does is it weakens us on the inside, takes us out of the present, and actually takes us out of our full potential. So that's why I'm bringing this up today, because I don't want you to get stuck in your past. I don't want you to get stuck in the choices you didn't make. I don't want you to get stuck in the things that happen to you in your life that you don't like. If you're able to turn your back on the past, embrace uncertainty, find a way to accept what is, find a place of gratitude, do the inner work, and let go of what you can't control, you will find a beautiful life waiting for you. And I call this process magic. The maybe, the acceptance, the gratitude, the inner work, and letting go of the things you can't control. And the first thing we need to do to get up out of bed, to stop looking at the past and know that life can change, is we need a little hope in our heart. It is almost impossible to move on with your life when you don't feel that it could change, when you don't feel it could get better, when you don't feel there's another opportunity waiting for you. And that's why I always talk about this idea of uncertainty, because if you're afraid of the unknown, you're going to believe that if things are not good today, they cannot get better tomorrow. But if you have a different relationship with uncertainty, if you realize because you can't know what's going to happen tomorrow, good things could happen too, possibilities you never imagined could come into your life, then you're going to get up every morning a little differently. And you're going to start turning more towards the moment and the future than to the past. And that's why I always talk about the idea of maybe. Maybe everything will be okay. Maybe it will get better. You could find the maybe practice on so many of my podcasts. But the most important thing is to remember that fear and worries and doubts are not certain. They're just one possibility in a sea of infinite possibilities. And in a sea of infinite possibilities, things that you want, things that you desire, things that you hope for do exist. And then when you have a little hope, you turn to acceptance. And acceptance at some point needs to be radical. It's that moment that you find the strength and courage, even though things might have not been fair, even if you don't like the outcome. You get very firm in the moment and you say, everything is exactly as it's supposed to be because it is. You cannot argue with what is. You can change what's going to be, but what is in this moment has to do with everything that has come before. And in this moment, the past is in solid form. It cannot be changed. And again, you get to process your feelings, but if you don't at some point accept, the power goes to the story, your power goes to the past, and you will not have enough inner power to stand strong in that moment, because letting go is one of the most challenging things you will do in your life, especially when you are not happy with how things have gone. It will be one of the most powerful, challenging, but transformative moments of your life. Everything is the way it's supposed to be because it is. Sometimes I envision a solid wall, and every thought that's from my past, every event is behind that wall that I can't get to. Sometimes I think about arguing with the past is like arguing with the fact that it's raining outside. Whatever example works best for you. But at some point you need to be radical, because if you're not radical, these stories will come back to you your entire life. You'll hear a story that your ex is doing really well. You'll hear a story that the person you used to be in business with made a lot of money. You'll hear a story that your friends that you used to go out with went on a great vacation. If you do not shut it down, you will go without. You will think your life is supposed to be different than it is, and then you will leak all your power to the past instead of the moment and the beautiful things that are yet to come. And the third piece is gratitude. And gratitude, if you look at it in a very broad perspective, it's being thankful for everything that exists in this moment. We don't realize how many things need to come together every day for us to be here, for us even to get out of bed. And then think about all the things in your life that are beautiful and wonderful, even if it's tiny, even if it's small. There was a day those things didn't exist, and one day they just came in. Whether it's your home, your children, a friend, when you really go deep on gratitude, it doesn't take much, but it's so important because it gives you a place to stand even on your worst day. There's so much in life to be grateful for. And the fourth piece is the inner. It's the value. It's your right to be here. It's your right to have a good life. It's your right to love yourself. And every time we go to the outside, we look at social media, we hear a story, we think about the choices we didn't make. We're taking the love, harmony, and the kindness and the power, and we're putting it outside of ourselves. But if we could just hold that within, not for any other reason other than our kindness and compassion to ourselves. The thing I learned the most is that's our job. We have to back ourselves up. We can't undermine ourselves in the most important moment of our lives. And again, it could be very challenging, but that inner landscape, if you're truly honest about it, if you're willing to let go, you will find something so gorgeous and beautiful within you. When we let go of the stories and we become present and we welcome in goodness and we welcome in hope and we sit in our heart and we are willing to be kind and loving to ourselves, something changes so deeply. And then we start to be more open to life. We start to be more creative. We start to be more resilient. We start to be more courageous. And that's when life really changes, because we start to become more of who we really are. And that's what the inner life is. That's what the journey is, to become our authentic selves and be that person in the moment and open up to the future. And the last piece is always thinking about what we can control and what we can't. It sounds so simple, but all day long, we're having upsets, big ones, small ones, ones about the past. But when you use that question, can I control this circumstance or not? We know we cannot control the past because it's not before us. And when unexpected things happen, sometimes we can't control the outcome. When you're always looking at this, you always know where to put your energy. Just because you can't control it, just because it's unexpected, it doesn't mean that things can't still be okay. And it doesn't mean there's not something in this gorgeous, beautiful moment offering you something more. And that is the magic practice. Maybe acceptance, gratitude, your inner world, and what you can control and what you can't. When you commit to this process, you will find the past is so much less interesting, because you start to see it's a waste of your time and your passions and your goals and your desires, because you have that hope in your heart, becomes so much more important. The moment becomes so much more important. And when you're not afraid of the future, you open up to it and you realize that you'd rather live in the infinite playing field of the unknown than the life that's behind you. You can do this. You can live in the magic. You could stop looking at the life that you don't have. You could stop comparing yourselves to other people, and you could see in this moment all that's available to you. And you could know that in the future, maybe the best is yet to come. Thank you for listening to this podcast today. If you'd like to get in touch with me, you could email me at allison@allisoncarmen.com. If you'd like to buy my books, The Gift of Maybe, A Year Without Men, or Maybe Everything's Okay, A Parenting Guide to Less Stress and Worry, they're available at all major bookstores and online retailers. If you'd like to buy my Maybe cards or my Maybe digital journal, they're available on Amazon, Etsy, and my Stan store. And most of all, if you like this podcast, I hope you subscribe and leave a comment.